As it's the start of 2025, I thought I'd give you guys a full garage walk around and show you what's currently in the garage and what might be coming. So in this room is the icon room. So we have most of the Lamborghinis, most of the Mercs, and a couple of Ferraris. So we've got the Aventador Roadster white on white next to the Countach 25th anniversary. This car was actually seen in Fast and the Furious 9, where I wasn't unfortunately seen, but we did take a bunch of cars there, and this was the only one that didn't get screen time. But thanks to John Cena, he did do a little bit on it, which is kind of cool. We've also got the 400 GT Lamborghini, second to the 350 GT. So the first ever Lamborghini car was the 350, then they made the 400, and the engine out of the 400 was also used in the Miura. But that is actually one of only 4 right-hand drive cars in the world, which is pretty cool. We've got the 488 Pista. We actually had this the same month we bought our Regera, and this has done some mileage. This has done like 10,000 miles now, I think. So yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite Ferraris ever, so that's pretty cool. P400S Lamborghini Miura, the most iconic supercar probably in the world, and one of the most iconic cars in the world. One cool rare thing about this is it has the cloth insert seats from original. That's quite a rare option on it, which is nice. It's also got SV wheels and tyres from factory. So that was something that Lamborghini quietly offered a couple of customers. So they're wider, a bit lower, a bit chunkier, so it makes it look a bit more stance, which we like. We currently have this in storage for a colleague of ours, which has done almost no mileage, but nice 2020, I think, Koenigsegg Regera. Very pretty, blue over gold. We obviously like blue over gold. And then we've got a fully restored, recently Classic-A'd Ferrari 365 GTC4. And if you don't know what Classic A is, it's basically where you send the car to Ferrari, it gets checked completely over to make sure everything on it is original, and this was 100% all perfect, which is really cool. Over the other side of the garage, walking past our colleague Alien, we have the 328 BMW, I believe it's a 328, might be a 327, can't quote me on that one because I always forget and it's early. We have probably one of the most important cars in the entire collection. This is our 300 SL. So the 300 SL is very cool. There's a really interesting story behind it in the fact that when the guy bought it, he bought 2 and one was used for spare parts. So effectively when we bought it, Mercedes approached us and we did a restoration of Mercedes in Keenly and managed to basically make the greatest example of a gull wing pretty much in the world. And like the Mercedes gull wing people say that this is the creme de la creme. She's only got 1,500 kilometers on the clock. And yeah, it is absolutely perfect. Continuing on from the gull wing, we obviously have the new gull wing, the SLS AMG. This car was bought simply because it thought it'd be quite cool to have a matching pair of gull wing cars. So yeah, we've got the red interior over silver. The red interior over silver is actually kind of a harder spec to find because usually the center bit of the seat had the black in it. But because obviously the 300 SL's full red, I wanted to find a full red with silver. So yeah, this was a pretty great find. The safety car livery was just a bit of fun, but yeah, it was cool. Fully bespoke and custom R1M with an Austin Racing exhaust. She's full carbon fiber, got glitter everywhere, just nuts. We've also got the smart crossblade. This thing is hilarious. This is actually rarer by numbers than a 300 SL gull wing, so that's kind of funny. Interesting fact about that, the doors are actually the crash structure, and these, if you take the gas rams off, take 2 people to lift up. So yeah, found that out when I had to replace the gas struts. So we're going to go through to our pre-war room and show you some cool cars in here. Taking a wander into the pre-war room then. Well, we say it's pre-war, it's kind of all a little bit flexible now. We've got a Fraser Nash Le Mans. This car has actually done Le Mans as well, which is really cool. The first ever car that we bought for the collection was this. It's a 300 SC Cabriolet, one of only 49 in the world. Super rare car. One of the most beautiful Mercs, I think, ever. And it makes a nice little when you do that. Daimler SP250. They were called a Dart, but because of Dodge and the Dodge Dart, they couldn't call it a Dart. So it's called an SP250, but nicknamed the Dart. Morgan Jap 3-wheeler. This isn't just a Morgan 3-wheeler because it has the Jap engine. This was actually known as the Morgan Jap, so it's quite a rare car. It's on a hand throttle, which is pretty sketchy. A 1920s Sunbeam twin cam. This was the first ever car to be launched at the Paris Motor Show. So the first year the Paris Motor Show ever started, this car was the first car to ever be revealed there. So it's kind of cool, and it was this exact car. Beautifully restored Triumph TR3A. Really lovely car. I enjoy cars like that, like the Healey, the MGBs, the MGAs, the TR3As, stuff like that. Triumph Dolomite with probably the prettiest front grille out of any car here. Some of the cars got the roofs up, that's because they're being stretched, because obviously leather and certain fabrics, they do go quite hard. We've got Triumph Dolomite. So we've got, oh sorry, no, that's the Dolomite. This is the Roadster. Triumph Roadster, Triumph Dolomite, Mini Cooper S or an Austin Cooper S. This is chassis 3 of the 1275, so this is a very rare car indeed. And it was a barn find. That was a big restoration job we did on that. Car that's been seen everywhere now. This is my dad's race car. This is the 1939 Lagonda Le Mans V12. And yeah, she's an absolute monster. We might fire that up a little bit later, so may do. This is currently going out for a wedding job. And I know it's in February, but on Sunday we've got a load of cars going to a wedding. So this would usually be in our Jaguar museum, which we'll get to in a sec. But this is a one of very, very few. We think it's a one of a handful left. And this is the best example of an SS1 Tourer in the world. This has been taken to Saudi Arabia, loads of different places, but yeah, really special car. Lagonda M45 Meadows. It's called the Meadows because the engine, fun fact, it has a wood body. The wood is also covered in leather just to make it all, you know, wrapped up and waterproof and whatnot. Really beautiful car, beautiful restoration. And the fan belt is made of tiny little squares. You've got a Lagonda Rapide. This is also a very rare car. This is probably one of the rarest Lagondas out there. Beautiful car, runs like an absolute peach, very lovely. Alvis Speed 20 Vanden Plas. Vanden Plas meaning the body style, so what you'll remember in these days is they would basically have the chassis and then you can almost design your own body sort of thing. So some people have a Vanden Plas body, some people would have an airline body or a Tourer body or whatever it may be. So yeah, some cool little bits. And fun fact for you about this car is that it has in the footwell of the rear seats, it is dipped so that when the bride is sat in the back, she is able to tuck her dress in and it doesn't flail everywhere. Also, you'll notice on a few cars, I don't know if we've got the roofs up on there, it's just this one at the moment. For some reason, the rear seats are covered, but the fronts aren't. And that is because in the old days, it was seen as rude for the driver and passenger to be covered when the main people were in the back. So you'd have a removable B-pillar that would pop up and then you could cover the driver and passenger. 1930s Lagonda V12 Saloon, owned by Earl Howe and owned by many famous racing drivers, this particular car, and chauffeur driven everywhere, so pretty cool. I love the car. We're now going to go through to our overflow room, which has got some pretty cool bits of kit in it. Okay, so out of this room, we've got a couple of bits missing. We usually have a Cortina that's being worked on, but if we go from here, we've got the Zagato shooting brake. We have the VW Beetle that is probably the most recent acquisition for the museum. This car is absolutely mint. You can see it's just absolutely beautiful. 427 Semi-Comp Cobra. This is a 50th anniversary car built by Shelby American. Very cool. Full alley body. We've got the Polaris. That's just to mess around with, to be fair. Still cool though, still very quick. Oldsmobile Rocket 88. That's on air ride. It's also got neons. It's kind of a bit of fun. Then over here we have the Mark II, was it Jaguar Mark II 3.8, I think it is. Yeah, Mark II 3.8, that's the one. I always get confused, but yeah, a lot of people love this car. It's a bit of a Marmite car. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think it's cool. This car is a Coombs edition, so it's got the extended spats on the rear wheels, the bonnet, the black wheels, and it's got a bit of a tune, so it's pretty cool. We have the Corvette Stingray 1963 split screen. This car is quite rare in the fact that it's an original split screen. It's sort of like the most iconic looking Corvette out there. Only a baby little engine, but she's had some bits done to her, so she's got the upgraded wheels. We have the originals in storage, and it's also got upgraded suspension, and it's had an interior done, so kind of cool. The American stuff's allowed to be modified a bit, I think. We would usually have another Formula 1 car there, but that's in for service at the moment. So this is Thierry Bouston's car. Yeah, really, really cool thing to think that this car raced against Ayrton Senna and in one race actually beat him, so that's kind of cool. We've got XK120 Competition Roadster. That's got a really cool story. That car we bought years and years and years ago. It was one of our first cars and enjoyed it and all of this and all of that. And then one day, basically, one of my best mates came along. He absolutely loved the car. He treasured it. And every single time he came over, he was always like, oh, I love that car. I love that car. And his dad came over and randomly he fell in love with it as well. And that was the first car we ever sold out of the collection. And we still look after it. So that's pretty cool. And I was with the guy like yesterday. So we've got probably the biggest vehicle in the museum is this W900B Kenworth. This was the one that was used to 3D scan for Optimus Prime. Very cool. It's had a pretty big restoration. Not a crazy engineering restoration, but a bodywork restoration most definitely. There's still some changes from the thing that you see on the screen, but there's a lot of similarities. They had to get the shape, so it's got the flat cab at the back and all that jazz. We do use it, we do run it, it does run, it's good fun. It's got probably the most outrageous interior you can ever imagine. And then you've got this, the Humvee or the Hummer H1. This is a H1 because the difference, I believe, don't quote me on this, the Humvee was the military version, the H1 was the same but made luxury, and I mean that in a very lightly used way. So this is something a lot of people don't often see, which is our workshop. This is where we try and maintain all of the cars. This is my niece's Clio. This is very rare to have a modern car in, but we're currently rebuilding the carburetor on the Peel. I think that's a pretty outrageous looking thing. And the Lotus Cortina has just had an engine rebuild, full check over, maintenance, strip down, and yeah, it's about to be, we're waiting on a steering arm, and then she'll be out doing probably a rolling road, and then out on some adventures, which will be good. And then this leads all the way through to the Jaguar room. Taking a step under here. So as mentioned, there is one Jaguar missing, which is down the bottom. So this is our Jaguar room. We've got the E-Type. That is possibly one of my favorite cars to drive in the collection. I just adore this car. I don't know why. There's just something so perfect about that car. And I think you speak to a lot of big collectors and they all say the same thing. They're like, the E-Type is the ultimate sports car. It's quite a lot of power as well, 4.2 litre engine. So we've got the Jaguar D-Type 1955 and the Jaguar C-Type. These are probably two of the most special cars in the collection. I love them. I adore the D-Type. I drive it far too much, but we've got the Jaguar SS100, first Jaguar to do 100 miles an hour. This one's actually also just had a full engine rebuild and is due to be running in the next, well, when the weather isn't raining basically. And an SS1 Airline, so the white Jaguar you saw down the bottom room, this is the brother car to that, but this is obviously the coupe version with I think some really pretty rear seats. I really like the seats in that. And you're probably wondering why this car is in the Jaguar room. Austin Swallow, as far as I can recall, the way that Jaguar came to be is Austin made small cars and Swallow made sidecars for motorbikes, and they basically teamed together to make a small luxury vehicle. So Swallow did the leather goods and Austin made the car, and then they ended up having a bit of a falling out. Austin went off to make their own vehicles, and Swallow wanted to still make luxury vehicles, and the reason why they fell out was because the Swallow side wanted to make a bigger vehicle, so then he turned it into Sidecar Swallow, or SS, hence why SS, and then after the war a British car couldn't be called an SS. That's where Jaguar came from. So, allegedly. I'm sure some of you keyboard warriors will be telling me otherwise, but there we go. Trophy cabinet full of metal. This is the MG room and sort of overflow room. So this is the only one in the world. This is a MG speed van. This was built for a 4-foot tall mechanic, so we can't actually drive it, but it's the only one. It's a one-off, and it's probably one of the rarest MG, well, it's the rarest MG out there, I think, apart from the other ones that are one of one. We've got an MG TD. I believe this is a TD. I can never actually remember which one's a PA and which one's a TD? I'm 99% certain this is a TD because I always think the PA has those wheels. So I know what you guys are going to be saying, oh, how does he not know the difference of his own cars? There's a lot going on. So yeah, you've got the TD, the PA, you've also got an MG K2, this is a very rare car, and you've also got the brother car to it, the K3. That was actually my mum's race car. My mum doesn't race it anymore, but yeah, ultimate bit of kit, whopping great big supercharger, but only a 1 litre engine, which I think is kind of cool. This is the earliest car we have in the collection, 1903, Georges Ricard. This was going to be doing London to Brighton, but it's just finished its restoration and it just missed the London to Brighton. So next year we'll be doing that. Maybe I might even join it. We've got the MGA 1600. Really beautiful car, but not quite my favourite. My favourite has to be my absolute baby. This is Mr. Jev, or the MGB. This car had a massive restoration, was taken to every show, won every possible award it could ever get, and she's only done a few thousand miles, but I drive her whenever the sun's out. I was out in it yesterday actually, so absolutely adore this car. It's actually probably my favourite car to drive in the collection. So yeah, just the one that brings me the most joy. Austin Healey 3000. This is kind of like the MGB, a bit more agricultural, quite a lot quicker, but it's kind of like an English muscle car sort of thing. It's kind of cool. And then we've got the Predator. And then we have to go for a bit of a walk to get to our tractor room. So this is the tractor room, or the industrial room. This is sort of the older vehicles. We have a Porsche AP18 tractor. This is a Porsche diesel. This is the same, real Porsche. This was kind of the era where Porsche don't like to remember things. The Lamborghini tractor 2R in Lamborghini colours, not Golf colours. This was Lamborghini, but it is very similar. Very cool though, nevertheless. And we do use them. Everything here gets used. The tractors get used on the farm. This doesn't, actually. This does not get used because this is an absolute nightmare to run. 1925 Ford Model TT. This was the first ever mobile recovery vehicle by Ford. In fact, I think it was the first ever mobile recovery vehicle. So this was the first time a car could come along and tow away another car. Kind of cool, very rare. The reason why the M25 has traffic, this was the first ever Renault van. Yeah, thanks for that, Renault. All you've done is create a bunch of builders that are angry on the M25. Morris 10.4, this was a one owner car. Very cool history. I mean, the car itself is very lovely, but it's it's not a 300 SL, but nevertheless, the history behind it. There's also some very cool bits. Suicide doors, very cool. And just up here, there is a pull cord that when you pull it, the rear window has a blind that pops up. Very cool. Moving on. Got to learn to shut doors properly here. Austin 7, very cool car. I particularly love this car. She's slow as anything, but good fun, very good fun. We've got an Austin 7 convertible. That's actually owned by the same guy who owns the XK120, my really good mate. Very cool car, cool to have the two of them here at the same time. And then a Leyland Lynx. This was when Shell and BP were joined together, and they used to deliver fuel and oil by vehicle rather than petrol station. So welcome to something that no one's seen, because this is still fairly new. This is our mini shop. This has got stuff from there's so much stuff in here. There's like bits of cake from a royal wedding. There's original Cadbury's chocolate boxes. There's bottles. There's loads of stuff. I mean, it's yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we come through here, and there is even more stuff. Loads of tiny little cans. We're trying to collect a lot of cigarette stuff because over the years, cigarettes have become fashionable and unfashionable. So we collect over the years where it was fashionable, because it shows how crazy that times change. You look at how beautiful all this stuff is, and this was all to promote something that now you're not even allowed to promote. So pretty crazy there. Abdullah Cigarettes, that's kind of a big name. And I think somewhere we have an original box of Player Navy Cup. There we go. That is an original, if you remember the John Player Special car, that is an original unopened black and gold box, which is kind of cool. So that is this room. And fun fact, if you ever make it to here, if you find one of the guys who work here and ask politely, you could have one of these sweets, which I'm going to help myself to right this second. without breaking it. Okay, so the final little extra room that we've got is our newly instated Lego room. This is just basically when COVID happened, instead of buying cars, we decided to start buying Lego, and now we've got some cool models, and we've got the grand masterpiece in the middle. This is a custom built Arc de Triomphe. It's 19,000 Lego pieces. It was the best part of £7,000, and it's pretty outrageous how much detail is in it. So we wanted a couple of bits that people definitely didn't have, and this is one of them. We're going to keep buying more. So we've got Eiffel Tower, we've got loads of weird and wonderful stuff, but take a little look. So there you go then, that is a walk around our collection at the moment. At the moment there is nothing leaving, there is also nothing coming as of yet. I know we're doing the hypercar hunt, and the hunt is still very much live, so yeah, stay tuned. But as always, thanks for watching, make sure to click subscribe, notification, all that jazz, and I will see you next video. Cheers.